Dive into the ring with Deji as we break down his journey from his first clash with Jake Paul to his recent professional fight.
For all he's great at running.
We're analyzing his technique, strategy, and evolution as a boxer, showing how he's grown and what he brings to the YouTube boxing scene. Let's get into it. Deji versus Jake Paul, the first fight. In Jake Paul's first fight, you could tell right away Deji knew his boxing. Jake was out there throwing light jabs and standing still. But Deji? He was on another level. He jabbed and moved, showing instincts like a seasoned boxer. These were the first moments of their first ever fight, and they were both running on pure instinct. Deji's strategy was smart. He started parrying Jake's jabs, but Jake caught on and switched it up with a left hook that caught Deji off guard. Even so, Deji didn't lose his cool and quickly got back in the game. Throughout the fight, Deji noticed something crucial. Jake always dropped his hands after breaking from a clinch. Deji used this to his advantage. After one of Jake's attacks, he moved into a clinch and then landed a punch right as they broke away, which actually broke Jake's nose. At the end of the first round, Deji was in tune with Jake's timing, landing jabs and forcing Jake to back off. The first minute of the second round was all Deji. His speed, power, timing, and sense of distance were superior to Jake's. But then Deji made a classic rookie mistake. Getting a taste of success, he forgot about conserving his energy. His intense attacks left him gasping for air, giving Jake time to recover. The rest of the round didn't see much action because of this. In the following rounds, Jake was clearly just aiming to score points, while Deji was trying to find a second win that never came. Ultimately, Jake Paul won, but technically speaking, Deji was the better fighter, especially in terms of damage dealt. Deji was the only one to make Jake bleed, which is saying something. Sure, it was Jake's first fight, but it was Deji's first too. And considering Deji hadn't trained much, his performance was doubly impressive. Compared to world champions who couldn't land as many hits on Jake, it's clear Deji lost because of his cardio. He had the technical skills, just not the stamina to back it up. It was a fight that proved Deji's potential, if only he had the endurance to match. Deji vs Vinny Hacker, Round 2. Deji entered his second fight, this time against Vinny Hacker, with a knockout mindset. After his bout with Paul, he had grown confident in his strength, timing, and speed. He brought a new trick to the ring, a direct or overhand pendulum exit, a surprise move that's effective not just in amateur fights, but also in the pros. One of the best bare-knuckle fighters uses this technique to knock out opponents, so Deji was in good company. Throughout the fight, Deji kept attacking, using this dive and attack strategy. But then he noticed Hacker starting to anticipate and counter his moves, so Deji switched it up, faking a dive and then launching uppercuts. Hacker, caught off guard, would dive right into Deji's punches. Until the end of the round, Deji was dominating, showing that when he's fresh, he's better than his opponent in every way. However, as the second round started, Deji's performance began to slide. What was surprising was a clean, powerful hook to his jaw that didn't knock him down, but his growing fatigue was evident. He started lowering his guard and shifted from his complex moves to simpler, straight punches, which Hacker could easily block. As we've seen before, Deji struggled with his stamina. In the third round, he didn't take much damage but chose to kneel during Hacker's attack towards the end. Most of Hacker's punches were blocked, and they weren't particularly threatening, but the referee stopped the fight, realizing Deji was looking for an exit. Despite his physical preparation seeming to have declined, it was clear that Deji had technically improved. He had developed good bodywork and a powerful diving attack. His downfall, however, remained his cardio. If Deji could match his technical skills with endurance, he would be a formidable opponent in the ring. His fight against Vinny Hacker showcased his potential and the areas he needed to work on for future battles. Deji versus Alex Wasabi, Defense and Progress. Deji's third fight, this time against Alex Wasabi, was a classic example of a fighter haunted by the fear of fatigue. It's a common issue in the fighting world. Take Francis Ngannou against Derek Lewis in the UFC, for instance. After dominating early but tiring out in a previous title fight, Ngannou was so wary of getting exhausted that he barely did anything in his next bout. Deji faced a similar mental battle. Entering the ring against Wasabi, Deji's main thought was to avoid getting tired, even if it meant winning just on points. In the first round, he didn't attack much but showed significant improvement in his defense. In his second fight, he used dives to attack. Now, in his third, he was flinging Wasabi around, reminiscent of James Toney's mastery in working the body and excellent head movement. Throughout the fight, Deji focused on avoiding attacks. He read Wasabi well and managed to dodge effectively, showcasing his technical growth in defense. Even though he ended up losing, Deji demonstrated something noteworthy. His defensive skills were top-notch, arguably unmatched unmatched by any other YouTube boxer. Deji's approach this time was drastically different. He wasn't just swinging wildly or going all out for a knockout. Instead, he was calculating, focusing on not making the same mistakes as before. He was more about reading the game, understanding his opponent's next move, and staying one step ahead. This strategy might not have won him the fight, but it showed his evolution as a boxer. What's interesting about Deji's journey is how he adapted and evolved with each fight. From an aggressive all-out attacker to a more defensive strategic boxer, his progression was clear. It's a testament to his learning curve and how seriously he took the sport. While he might not have gotten the win he hoped for, his improved defense and strategic approach in the ring were impressive, suggesting that if he could combine this with effective attacking strategies and better stamina, he could become a formidable force in the YouTube boxing scene. Deji's defensive skills and dilemma. At this pivotal moment, Deji's British coaching team had an important realization. They had a natural counterpuncher in their midst. Deji couldn't just charge at his opponents because it drained him too quickly, but just dodging and weaving wasn't enough either. Sure, he was avoiding getting hit, but he wasn't scoring any points because he wasn't attacking. This is where the strategy needed to shift. Deji had to use his solid defense as a setup for his offense, and that's exactly what he started to do in his next fight. He couldn't afford to be the first to strike all the time, as it would tire him out. Instead, he needed to wait, see what his opponent was doing, and then strike back at the right moment. This approach is like a chess game. You wait, you see the move, and then you counter. Deji's new fighting style was about balance. He had to find the right mix of defense and offense. It was no longer just about avoiding punches, it was about using those moments when his opponents missed to hit back effectively. This strategy required patience, good timing, and a sharp eye to spot the openings. His coaches knew that if Deji could master this style, he'd be much more effective in the ring. It's about being smart, not just fast or strong. By turning his defensive skills into a chance to score, Deji could keep his energy levels up and still rack up the points. This approach showed a deeper understanding of boxing. It's not always about being the aggressor. Sometimes letting the opponent come to you and then striking back is the key to victory. Deji's fourth fight, progress and confidence. In Deji's fourth fight against Fusi, we saw him step into the ring for his first professional bout. This meant lighter gloves and longer rounds, posing an extra challenge for Deji's cardio, especially against an opponent who looked like he was in top CrossFit shape. From the start, Deji's progress was evident. He cleverly threw a decoy left hook, tricking Fusi and landing a precise straight punch. This left hook feint worked like a charm, not just once, but 3 times in a row. Deji realized that when he pushed Fusi into a corner, the left hook could be more than just a feint, it could be a solid hit. Soon, his entire combo was landing cleanly on Fusi's head. You could tell Fusi was wary of Deji's attacks. He seemed to back off even before Deji struck. One thing that gave Deji an edge was keeping his front hand up, not just for show, but as a smart way to gauge distance and strike from a spot where Fusi couldn't reach him. This hand control also improved his defense. Instead of just blocking, Deji relied on his head movement and footwork, stepping out of the attack line just in time. The rest of the round was pure domination by Deji, but we've seen this before, so let's jump to the second round. Here, Deji really stepped it up, knocking Fusi's jabs aside to close in and land a straight punch. It was clear why he could make it as a pro boxer. He kept Fusi guessing, feinting a right hook and then slamming a left straight, not to the head but to the body. Deji controlled the fight, and most importantly, he wasn't rushing. He fought like a true counter-striker, using tricks and drawing Fusi in. Now let's talk about the knockdown, a classic Deji move. From his second fight, he's shown he has a powerful left straight. He'd use his right hand to distract Fusi, and while Fusi was busy defending against that, Deji would land his signature straight, sending his opponent to the mat. Deji finally clinched a win, and he did it with style and confidence. Deji's pro boxing potential. Looking back at his fights, it's obvious that Deji's biggest opponent has been himself. When it comes to boxing smarts, he's way ahead of the pack. If he gets his fitness on point, Deji could be the top boxer on YouTube. He's got amazing defense skills, and his attack moves are super complex. The guy's got serious talent. He just needs to match it with the right physical condition to really dominate the ring. That wraps up our deep dive into Deji's boxing journey. From raw talent to strategic mastery, he's shown real growth in the ring. With the right training and focus, there's no limit to what he can achieve. Keep an eye on this fighter. He's only going to get better. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe the channel for more content.